The world of waste crime generates vast profits for crooks each year. In parts of Europe, the dumping of hazardous rubbish has been blamed for rising cancer rates and birth defects. What is being done to protect our health and the environment? Welcome to On the Front Line.
Okay.
2 years ago, Mafia lost her only child, 9-year-old Antonio. He died of a brain tumour rare in children, usually only found in adults and the elderly. Mafia believes Antonio was a victim of environmental pollution.
The oncologist asked me if we were living in a radioactive area, in an area with some power plants, an area where there was something harmful, some industry. I was astonished because I lived next to the countryside.
Until recently, Marzia's home was on the outskirts of Naples. Known locally as the land of fires, hazardous waste has been burned and dumped illegally in the area for years. Recent research suggests cancer rates in the locality are above the regional average. Industrial sludge, asbestos and hospital waste, all unearthed by investigators in illegal landfills, are blamed for polluting the groundwater. A leading mafia boss turned whistleblower has also revealed nuclear waste shipped from Germany was buried on site.
When we carry out a search, we don't only expect to find local waste, we often find stuff that's come from elsewhere in Italy or even other European countries. Sometimes we find waste that has come from outside Europe.
But the region is not only a dumping ground. Specialists say large amounts of illegal rubbish from southern Italy, mostly plastic, now goes to Asia via other EU countries.
The strict controls at Italy's ports have forced shipments to Marseille, Slovenia and Croatia, where there is less monitoring. From there, it is sent on to Asia.
Despite the risks for human health and the environment, the sector still provides rich pickings for organised crime. In Italy, the black market in waste is believed to be the mafia's fourth most profitable.
We expect government institutions to do their duty. We trust them to carry this out. We certainly don't expect, behind our back, civil servants are colluding with corrupted people, in industry, in the mafia, and local criminality.
Euronews' Margherita Sforza there, reporting from southern Italy. With me now is Leif Gortz from Eurojust, the European Union's prosecutorial agency, and Shirlene Chin from the Institute for Environmental Security. Also joining me from Rome is Monica Frassoni, President of the European Green Party. Welcome to you all. Leif Gortz, let me begin with you. We just heard a mother there who believes her child died from environmental pollution speak about trust in institutions to do their duty. Is Europe able to prosecute these crimes?
Yes, in theory, yes, we are, but I'm afraid we don't do that to the extent that we should.
Yeah, the sentencing, the conviction rates, they're extremely low. It's a rarity, isn't it?
I would begin by saying that the rate of investigation is low. We are under-investigating this kind of criminality and we are under-prosecuting this kind of criminality. That is, unfortunately, the fact.
Why?
Well, the reason why it's being under-investigated is also because it's being under-reported. Most of the time there's lack of judicial cooperation, lack of data amongst law enforcement officials that has led to, consequently, low sentencing, low prosecutions.
Monica Frassoni, how concerned should people, European citizens, be of toxic waste ending up on their doorstep?
I think they should be very worried because toxic waste is relatively well hidden, but is also very well spread all over Europe. It has been proven by the last reports that even in countries like Germany or Northern Europe, this issue of eco-criminality is above all related to waste is very strong. So I think that there must be a political message that this thing should become much more of a priority beside what should be done on the criminal side.
You mentioned other countries, Germany. Is this, I mean, people will watch this report at home and think, oh, it's an Italian problem. Is it just an Italian problem?
No, it is not. It is a little bit, when you talk about mafia and organized crime, that people consider it a little bit of a folklore. But the economic activity of these groups, they are extremely spread also in the rest of Europe. They are not only active in money laundering and on drugs and on prostitution, but they are also active on eco-traffic, notably on waste. I think that we have to get a little bit our acts together, but I insist it is not only a problem of the judges, it's also a problem of the politicians, and I think that there we still have an issue.
OK, thank you. Leif Gutz, why, given the health implications of this, given the fact that it's not just in Italy, it's a Europe problem, why isn't this a political priority?
What we can see is that we don't see many investigations, and particularly not investigations into the cross-border aspect of this kind of criminality, and we can ask ourselves why. There are many reasons, but one important reason is that we don't have the resources. The resources that we do have are not protected to fight this kind of criminality, and we don't have the certain amount of specialization that I think is needed to do these kinds of investigation and prosecutions, and we don't work with intelligence the way we should. So we don't collect information, so we don't understand that this kind of garbage ends up in Germany or Sweden that comes from Italy or vice versa. We simply don't know enough.
Do you have sentencing guidelines for this?
It looks different in the different member states. There is a general view amongst my colleagues across Europe that the penalties are low, and that there are examples of, for example, of companies that have been fined, been given a fine that is lower than the actual cost for compliance. So, of course, people don't comply.
How is that right? How do you change that narrative that the fact is that criminal prosecutions are so low?
It may be an idea to emphasize a little bit more about the severity of the crime itself, and therefore reserve the most serious crimes to criminal penalties, and use at the time being administrative penalties, which sometimes can be quite severe, like the revocation of licenses, for instance, suspension of businesses. These are also pretty good deterrent on the administrative side of things.
It seems a little bit unclear, Monica Frassoni, a little bit wishy-washy. Italy has just decided to make eco-crime a criminal offence, or has made it more precise what a criminal offence is. Do you see the same happening in other member states? Are member states getting tough on this?
Unless we put from the European side and from the national side more priority to this, which means more recognition of these crimes, I think we are not going to go in the right direction, and the environmental crimes are considered to be less important than other crimes. So perhaps if we can ask how many resources are given to terrorism, I'm sure that is much more than what is given to the toxic waste trafficking. Just to make a very short example, in Italy we have a huge, one of the big problems is a steel company called Ilva, which is actually causing a lot of environmental harm and certainly an environmental disaster, but the Commission after 1.5 years is not active.
Shouldn't authorities be going after the legal companies that want criminals to dump this rubbish on the cheap?
There is a market, there is demand coming from legal companies as well as illegal companies. There is a demand to reduce costs at the company, and at the same time there's a burgeoning need to get rid of waste.
Isn't there a way of monitoring this waste from A to B, tracking it? I mean, you can monitor tax, why can't you monitor waste?
Well, it's a good question. You could. You need to find out the working methods so that different agencies work together on member states level, but also on European level, so that the customs work together with enforcement agencies or environmental agencies or with the police when they gather information on the roads, trafficking lorries, trafficking waste, that they collect that information, they structure it, they analyze it. They work, as we say, in an intelligence-led way to fight this kind of criminality. We don't do that.
Thank you. Monica Frassoni, shouldn't governments be making it less expensive to dump waste so they actually take the demand side away from the criminal market?
No, I think that would be the wrong way. Because I think that the issue is that whatever low the cost will be, it will never be zero. And I think that it is very difficult to beat on price, on market, this kind of criminality.
A final question to you all. This criminality is killing our environment, it's killing the land that we live on. What is it going to take, Shirlene Chin, to get action on this? Is it going to take a large number of deaths?
Monica is right that there has to be a lot of political priority given to environmental crime. The EU has to recognise the severity, the impacts, the consequences, also the economic consequences of such crimes on honest competitors, honest businesses.
What's it going to take to get action on this?
Where does the success start? By cooperation. By cooperation, by finding the way to work together on member state level, then we will see some very interesting investigations and prosecutions, and that will raise awareness and understanding.
Monica Frassoni, final word to you.
Well, I think that we need programs like this one in order to bring awareness and information all over Europe. And then, of course, implementation of the regulations which are there and that are a little bit weak at the moment. So I think that if we make implementation, public awareness, lots and lots and lots of information, we will get there.
Thank you. Very interesting debate. Thank you to you all. That's it for this edition and series of On the Front Line. You can find us on social media as well as euronews.com. From me and everybody on the programme, thanks for watching and goodbye.